Awesome. So we're at DjangoCon US 2025 in Chicago. Today is Tuesday, the second day of the conference.
Yep.
And with me is Will. And I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell us what you find interesting to do. It can be in tech or not in tech.
Sure. So Will Vincent, I'm a developer advocate at JetBrains PyCharm. I've been in the Django community a long time. And I'm interested in Django and AI and how they fit together right now. So I gave a talk yesterday on that topic and thinking about how Django can fit into this new AI world that everyone's talking about, but I think most people don't really understand what it actually means and what it means for us as web developers.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of comments which are extremely positive and extremely negative about AI. And now that it's here, what kind of advice would you give to both sides?
Yeah, so I mean, the hard part is AI as an engineer is such a vague term that it's people define it how they want. I think we're mainly talking about LLMs, so ChatGPT and Claude, and my company, we've integrated this into our products, but we don't, we're not a frontier model company, so we're not aggressively slamming it on people. So we try to take what helps developers. It definitely helps them somewhat. Does it replace developers? I don't think so. And I'm worried about the next generation of developers and how they learn, given that those early stages you can kind of not cheat your way through, but instead of having to actually type the code, if you vibe code and use an agent, you're not loading it in your brain in the same way. That's the issue I have. Even if I vibe code something effectively, if I haven't physically typed it, it's not there in the same way like writing something down helps you remember. So, I mean, young people will figure it out. I'm old, but it's a different way of learning now. Instead of going to Stack Overflow or Google or books, people are just going straight to the LLM, which helps and is fast, but you can't trust it. And so I think it's also an opportunity for those of us who do create content to lean into trust, right? So what do we have to offer? It's like we trust something from you, something from me. So we have to lean into that a little bit more.
Yeah, and speaking of education, I think you've also been in a way in the education sector for a long time.
Yeah, I know. I got white hair, so it's coming.
Could you tell us more about that, from becoming a writer to a speaker?
Yeah, so I have 3 books, Django for Beginners, APIs and Professionals, that I've updated the last 6 years. I do a regular podcast, Django Chat, with Carlton Gibson, who was a Django fellow. I do the Django newsletter with Jeff Triplett, which is a weekly newsletter for 6 years. I have open source. I run a site called learndjango.com. Yeah, it's too many things, to be honest, but I'm really passionate about teaching people because I learned how to code as an adult. So I started as a book editor, then I got a business degree, and then I worked at startups, and then I learned how to code, and I just felt it was poorly explained to someone who didn't have a pure engineering background. So my whole mode has been, if it's difficult for me, it's difficult for someone else. And I think it's a little bit, not narcissistic, but egotistical, but you have to be a little bit to think that anything you do should be put out there. But I just know people learn differently because I found the existing stuff didn't work for me. And so I still have to remind myself, if anything I find confusing, others find it confusing. And I have a way of presenting things. It's not for everyone, but people who like it, they like other things that I do. And I do that same way with people I learn from. If I see something in your style, I'm like, I'll consume everything. So I think we need more people making Django accessible because it's not rocket science. But people who use it day to day get lost in the weeds, and it's harder to pull yourself up and think about like a beginner. I have that challenge now. Actually, I find certain things more interesting because I've been doing it a long time. But when I talk to beginners, I come to conferences, I'm reminded of that perspective, and I think teaching to me is like the most challenging thing. It's the thing I enjoy even more than code.
That sounds exciting, and I like the fact that you pointed out that you started coding as an adult. And you also got a business degree.
Like an adult.
And then you got a business degree, and I want to ask, how do you get that knowledge from business and try to convert it to what you do in a day-to-day? Because
Poorly.
I'm trying to connect business with what you do now. Like,
Yeah.
they're kind of like similar things because it's still trying to provide value to people, which is like on the business side.
Yeah.
But I want to know, why did you choose to do a business degree, or did you not know about tech then, or?
Oh, sure. I mean, so I started off as a book editor, and that went reasonably well, but the book industry went, like, I was there right when
Yeah.
Kindle came, and I looked around, and consolidation, all the people I wanted to be were getting fired, and I was still young, and I thought, I have a brain. And I saw our marketing budget was going to websites, which was a foreign idea back then.
Yeah.
So I got into business school, and I learned how to program basic websites, and I had a small business building websites for book authors.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I want to go to the West Coast. I want to work in startups.
Yeah.
I did that. And then, the personal answer is I became a parent, and I wanted a little more control over my career.
Yeah.
And I liked the intellectual challenge of coding.
Yeah.
So I just have a romantic idea of a writer or a coder just sitting, like this morning, I sat in my room, 5 a.m., and I created something.
Wow.
And I love that feeling. And when you work pure business, you get different kind of satisfaction, but you don't get that creative satisfaction.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that helps me understand the different sides, like the business perspective, the coding perspective.
Yeah.
I just find people interesting, right? And so trying to
Yeah.
figure out what is the real problem. It's not the code, it's not this and that. It's trying to solve a problem that someone may not know they have.
Yeah.
So before I learned how to code, I had all these ideas, and I thought, ooh, once I learn how to code, like, I'll be like a billionaire, I'll have all these startups.
Yeah.
And now I have the opposite problem. Now I'm like, I could kind of build most things, or I could work with people to build it, but I lack the industry knowledge. So I think in some ways, as developers, we just want to scratch our own itch. So we're all building developer tools, as JetBrains does, but that's a really hard space to sell into.
Yeah.
I would say the best combination is someone with industry experience in any industry plus tech, because every industry needs tech, but you need someone who knows the industry and also knows how to communicate it to people. And it's difficult to be a coder, stay relevant as a coder, and combine it.
Yeah.
So some people can do it, but I think that combination of industry plus tech, and just realize that the tech is secondary to the business objective.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I view it as serving whatever the need is of a person.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm open to ideas if anyone has great startup ideas.
Yeah.
And then AI is just another layer on top of that, of speeding things up, but also it's overhyped in some ways and underhyped in others.
Yeah. I like the fact that you brought up, like, you came in from a book editor to now writing your own books.
Yeah,
yeah. Do you edit your own books?
Oh, yeah. It's all me, for better or for worse. Yeah, I edit, no technical editor, no copy editing. It's just me. I don't really think about it. I mean, maybe I should think about it more, but I think because I had the formal background, I know what that involves because I used to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Also, the advances in technical book writing are non-existent, so
Yeah.
no one was going to pay me to write a book.
Yeah.
And now I could publish through a publisher, but like, why? Like, they don't. That's a separate discussion.
Yeah.
Like, they provide some value to some people, and I think most people actually should probably go through a publisher.
Yeah.
But given my background and wanting to actually potentially make money from it, as opposed to just use it for consulting or promotion, I think you're better off being self-published.
Yeah, and now in the self-publishing part is you used to sell books in like Amazon, but now you have your own site.
Well, I still do.
Well, not so much as encouraging people to just to
I
just do it.
I can talk about that if you're interested.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know, why did you shift everything to just being on your site as compared to just using other third parties to kind of like sell
so I
your
did
books?
use I still use LeanPub to help with some of the generation, and I used to sell only through there, so that you can do ebooks.
Yeah.
So I do ebooks and then Amazon, and then I switched to Gumroad for a long time, plus Amazon. And Gumroad, there's a bunch of reasons why I just felt like moving away from it. And one of them is I wanted an online site that I could update all the time and not have this whole process of generating the books.
Yeah.
Then I know who the user is. I have their email address. I can communicate with them. I can offer deals. There's a privacy issue that I try not to be negative about, but like every day there's another free, PDF book site somewhere. And so, when I see, I know that people need to have access to information, but when it's so easy to steal, it's sort of a bummer as a content creator.
Yeah.
So so I think online site is also a fun project to do.
Yeah.
And so I prefer to print because A, I make twice the money, and B, I know who the person is, so then I can have a relationship with them and offer new products, or they can get the updates right away when I update the books.
Yeah.
So it's just a better flow. I think in some ways technical framework books, they update too often to really sit on a bookshelf collecting dust.
Yeah.
So maybe a Python book. I'd love to do a Python book. That could be more of a book.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of books, we know that you updated your Django for Beginners to 5.0.
Yeah.
And
5+.
Yeah, 5+. And like you also updated the Django for APIs that is publicly available. But you published a post on LinkedIn that said that you were going to be rewriting the Django for Professionals.
Yeah. That just was like seared into my consciousness how bad that was.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to say like I appreciate you updating your books and trying to make it better, because honestly, I wish I really had read it earlier on, because I would have saved myself a lot of headache.
Well, but you learn through pain. I hate to say that. Like,
I know.
Pain's not good, but
it's necessary in a way.
Yeah, you need what's the zen flow of like you need enough so you're like ugh, but banging your head against a wall is too much. And that's kind of that was my metric, was like if it took me back in the day more than like 2 days on something, I was like try to get help. And now I still have that, but it's a shorter time frame. But I'll give it. Well, I don't want to throw numbers out, but I don't give it an hour on something. I'm like I know where to look, and I'm like okay, if I'm stuck, I want to go see. Am I not understanding it, or is it one of these like religious debates in the community? Yeah. And that's actually a great, LLMs are great for that now, because they can do deep research, where if it's a niche thing, I can ask it, and it'll often uncover, a track discussion way back when about something.
Yeah.
So it's getting better in some ways. I just think it's more overwhelming, the fire hose of content you can get. I think you still need a trusted source who's a human who will mentor you, right? I wish if I could pay the bills, I'd happily just like mentor people all day long. It just doesn't scale.
But I think in a way you are kind of mentoring, because you're already doing a lot of books, and like in a way that's like you talking to readers through your books as well. So you kind of like are mentoring in a further way perspective.
Hopefully a scalable way.
Yeah. And plus you mentioned that you tend to also like to reach out to people who buy your books from the site directly. So I think if they had questions about the book, they could still reach out through the same
absolutely. I'd love to, it's will@learndjango.com. The one thing I would say is, because I do get a lot of emails, if there's questions about Django that aren't specifically in the book, go to the forum. But anything about the book, I'm happy to
chat about it.
And that's one of the nice things about this conference is I meet people who I've interacted with online beforehand about whatever it is. Maybe they know more than I do, or they learned with the books, and then to match up a face when we have that online relationship before.
Yeah, and I think the first time I met you was in DjangoCon US 2023, and I was so excited to meet you, because I was like, oh my god, I get to actually meet the person who wrote the book, and it was such a mind-blowing moment for me, and the fact that you were also like really down to earth and kind, and you were open to answering a lot of questions that I had, because I was like, you're talking to me, you're so famous. Like,
I remember that I had the 2 Scoops of Django book that Danny and Audrey did, and they were very friendly and had personal interactions with them. So I remember that feeling, or the first time I met, Jacob Kaplan-Moss and Simon Willison. I was like, oh, you're just a person, and I think that's somewhat unique to Django, that people are accessible like that. And the reality is for me, everything is digital. So it's only at DjangoCons or that I get in person. I don't work in an office with programmers. Almost none of my friends are programmers. So I have like my online life, and then this is sort of like the manifestation of it. So I'm not just like and I think it's good for me, right? Like nobody cares about what I have a friend who's a fellow dad. Kids are friends. I coach soccer with him. We never asked what the other did. Like 4 years in, I mean, it's a guy thing. 4 years in, he was like, "Wait a minute, is this you?" And I was like, I was like, "Yeah." He's like, He's a Python developer. He's like, "I'm trying to learn the web." And I was kind of proud that we didn't pollute that with which I would have been happy to talk about it, but as an adult, especially in the US, sometimes it's like, what do you do? Like, how important are you?
Yeah.
And I really like not, have that a space for that, and then have a space for just
For
everything
something
else.
Yeah. And I remember one of the conversations we had was like, how do you become an author? And I think we talked about that extensively. But now,
Yeah.
since you brought in the topic of self-publishing, what advice would you give to somebody or other people who would love to write books, and what are some of the pathways they would take to actually self-publish as well?
Yeah, you don't need permission. You can just do it. I mean, I wrote, in hindsight, I don't know if I would write the books because I knew so little when I wrote them, but I wrote them for myself, and then I put it online and people seem to like it. So you can just do it. Like, just do it in Markdown. You can use LeanPub. There's online engines. You can hire someone to lay out your books for a couple $100s.
Yeah.
Or go through a company. If you have a good idea, like, they will help guide you. I don't want to say anything negative about them, because I was a book editor, right?
Yeah.
So if you've never had that gone through that process, it's
Yeah.
super helpful. They will assign you an editor to help edit it. They'll find a technical editor. They'll help with design. Because it'll take way more time, way more time than you think.
Yeah.
So I would just say, yeah, anyone can do it. Anyone should do it. We need more perspectives. We need more books. It also doesn't have to be a 500-page book.
Yeah.
It can be a 200-page book. Or it could be whatever perspective you bring. We need that in the community.
Yeah.
So, but also I would say, like, for me, my first book, I had an online website. I had DjangoForBeginners.com, and I posted chapters. And then at some point I was like, well, maybe I should just like make it a book. And I had that
Yeah.
moment where I just like made it a book, and someone bought it. And I was like, oh my God,
Wow.
like, really? Someone
You
bought
actually
this?
like this.
But at the same time, because I had it out there, and again, it's a
Yeah.
different time. It was like almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I had Discus comments, and I had a lot of traffic and a lot of comments. So the book got better from online people. So, they got free content, but I got free feedback.
Yeah.
So you don't have to just dump a book on the world. Like, you can just put it online and have a news. That's what I would do now. I would have, Wagtail or something, just have a site, have a newsletter, and just release the chapters or update them, and people will give you feedback.
Yeah.
Especially if they get value from what you're doing. So
Yeah.
that was really helpful to keep me going, and also to make the book better before I published it. But also, when you self-publish it, like, you can just change it.
Change it as much as you wanted.
You can change as much as you want.
Yeah.
And so I change my books, not enough, but like, it's possible to just update them, or because I'm self-published, like, if someone saw something, I can go in, make the change tonight, and then all the future versions on Amazon are updated.
Yeah.
Or better yet, I can just do it on my own website now, and I don't have to spend that time.
Yeah, and speaking about actually now specific to Django and the DSF, you've been part of the community for a long time, and I would like to ask you, what keeps you coming back? What keeps you bringing value to the community, coming to conferences,
Yeah.
talking to people? Like, what do you like most about all that keeps you here?
So with my job at JetBrains PyCharm, I go to more conferences like Python ones. Django is like the safe, happy space where I think part of it is the size is just
Yeah.
right, where there's new people, but returning faces, and we have our disagreements, but everyone is nice. Python is big enough and important enough that there's more rough edges, and also people are doing different things. Like, here, we're all doing the same thing. At a PyCon, some people are doing AI, data science, web, different types of web. That has a value, but it doesn't feel like a family.
Yeah.
So I come out of these conferences energized, and then it like carries me to the next one, or people come up and say they like the podcast. I'm like, all right, we should keep doing the podcast, or
Yeah.
because it doesn't take much, and it's not that I'm fishing for compliments, but
Yeah.
for me, I like people. Even though I work in an introverted field, I'm not especially introverted.
Yeah.
So having that human connection and insight carries me forward in those times when I'm just like fighting with the computer around content specifically. I'm like, okay, yeah, there is someone out there who cares.
Yeah.
Because I have moments I'm like, oh, do I really want to like spend 20 years doing the same
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah, but I think you also do like different facets of it that you wouldn't get bored, because you're also doing like the packages, you're doing like the books, you're doing the newsletter, you're doing the podcast, and you're writing
Too
books.
much. I wish I was just like one thing. Yeah, I mean,
Really? I feel like it kind of like works in a way.
it does. Yeah, I'm very happy at my job now because I get paid to do a lot of this stuff and to work on a product that ties that all in together.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. That's been a new experience to like, I can come here, people can give me feedback on using PyCharm or not using PyCharm and what they like on other IDEs. And then I have teammates, and I'm part of the process of making a product better. It's nice, just separately, that's also really nice. Like I'd always planned to work for a company, but I really like the company where I'm at. And it's nice to, I was pretty much self-employed for a number of years doing consulting. I mean, I know you know a little bit how this works. Like it can, it's just you. And it's great when it's great, but then sometimes
it's not so great.
It's not so great. So it's a nice
totally
balance I have now. But yeah, I guess I just like the community. I like the people.
Yeah.
I think the web is important. I think Django still, like we're not, I'm not gonna say names, other communities we could just be like more and more irrelevant, but Python is more and more important all the time. Python's growing, Django's growing. So there's a sense of like, just hang on and there'll be wells of like excitement or this and that. I mean, I'm personally super excited about how AI and Django fit together. I think there's so much there. So I've been learning a lot about data science this year, which is super cool and interesting, and also not that scary. Like, you don't have to do matrix multiplications and linear algebra. Like, I mean, you should know about it, but you're not doing it, right? In the same way that I'm not writing all of Django from scratch. I'm using it. So that's been cool, and I think Django has a role to play to help people doing data science stuff use the web. So I don't know, it's kind of fun.
I mean, it does sound fun, and considering you came from like a background of where you would work for yourself and now add JetBrains, how's the transition like, and how are you adjusting to all that?
I mean, it's a transition. I knew it would be. The company's great, my boss is great, I work remote, I do a bunch of travel. There's a lot of autonomy in the role, which works for me, having done my own stuff. So that's great. I think if just me personally, if I was just getting tickets to do all day, that would be amazing for like 6 months, and then I would be really frustrated. Because I always want to think about like, what's the real issue here? And so I get to wear a bunch of hats, like part product, part marketing, part giving talks. And I think it's a separate discussion, but JetBrains is a privately held company. A lot of what they do aligns with how I feel about the tech space.
That's exciting to hear. And now that we have like the Django Events Foundation North America that runs this conference, we're trying to spotlight more authors and more writers or other people who are in content so that we could help them spread the word about whatever they're creating. What are some of the things you think we could do to help other authors like you who are already in the business?
Well, there's a not a disconnect. There's a divide where if you go on YouTube, for one example, most of the people who are big on YouTube for Django have never been to a DjangoCon. And that's fine. That's healthy, but I wish there's a little more overlap there. Same thing with book authors. Some of the Django book authors are here. Some of them are not directly involved in the community. So I guess you don't want to exclude any book authors just because they're not able to come to DjangoCons or participate for whatever reasons. So I don't know if that's not really an answer. It's a broad world. I think about this, right? I think also I care a lot about Django, and for myself, you sometimes need to like ebb and flow how much you participate directly in Django, because it's a wonderful thing to do, but it can take up a lot of time.
A lot of time.
I mean, you know this. I mean, I was on the board for 3 years, which I loved doing, but I think it was good for me to step away. And many of the people here who've done these roles now help out in other ways. So to answer your question, I don't know, djangobook.com. Like I read every Django book. Like I think there's something positive in all of them. It's not a competition. There should be 30 books on Django.
And I feel like every book is unique in a way, even if maybe we could have 3 versions of Django for beginners, because sometimes they're all different.
Don't take my title.
Of course.
Well, but most people write slightly more advanced books, which I totally get because it's more interesting for them. But I mean, they should. That was my big thing when I started out, was I didn't want to skip any steps. Because I would try to follow tutorials and they would just say, oh, we'll just hand wave and start here. And I was like, I couldn't get there. Like I didn't know what, or they'd say, well, just clone this repo and then we'll go from there. I was like, well, what did I just clone? So I'm trying to in my own content, I don't want to have to do everything from scratch every time. But I do want to take you from point A to point B, and maybe I don't explain every step, but I want to show every step. Again, because I I was there.
Yeah, you know how it feels like to be there.
Yeah, it's not a intelligence thing. It's just a
Yeah.
well-explained thing. And unlike other fields, the web is so new and and programming is so new and it's so fluid that people who know, the economics don't really back up spending the time to write it.
Yeah.
So you have to want to do it for your own reasons.
I agree.
Yeah. So are you gonna do a book?
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe next time I'll let you know if I'm doing a book. I'm trying to, but at the same time, I'm like, I really have, like, how my mind works is like, I have all these things, but I also need to like cut down in what I want the book to say and what I don't want it to say, sort of kind of thing.
I would say blog. I think you want to just I think about constantly trying to like minimize the friction between idea, inspiration, and something out there.
Yeah.
It's like even if you did 20 blog posts and then you had a book with 20 chapters.
Yeah.
Like people, they're separate things. Not maybe in your head, but they're completely separate things for people.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about. And now with video, I'm trying to do stuff at work. It's a new challenge, but I'm trying to find what's that like 80-20 where I can still do video, reach people where they're at, make it a little more dynamic, but not, become a video producer, which is not what I want to do and not what I'm good at.
Yeah, that sounds so cool. So one last question. If you were having like this, I don't want to say your last day, but let's say in a hypothetical that you were going to leave all this behind and change careers, what would make you smile when you're having tea as your last day?
Like thinking back on the on the
thinking
journey?
back. What do you think you would miss most?
I think it would be stuff like this. It would just be meeting people who had some connection to either the community or something I did, and it's those connections, because I like people.
Yeah.
That's what everyone says. It's the community, it's the people. And there's something really nice about we're all volunteers.
Yeah.
It means sometimes things don't move as quickly as we'd like, but everyone's coming from a good place.
Yeah.
And that's super powerful and that's super rare.
Yeah.
And we're working on something really important too. So I think that would be.
I
don't have any plans to do that. I think you don't have to. It's not an all or nothing thing.
It's not, because you've had such a huge, I would say, career and like accomplishments that you've done.
Oh. Well, thank you.
In my opinion, yours might
not
be
how
a
I
little.
frame it, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe even you could encourage somebody who would like to come to this conference for a long time.
Yeah, my whole Django career is based around coming to one of these for the first time. So it was 2018. I think I'd written the first 2 books for some reason. Oh yeah, because I was in between jobs.
Yeah.
So that was a stressful period, but out of that came these books. And then I just applied, and I saw that I didn't have a lot of income at the time, but I saw that if I had a talk accepted, they would help cover some of the travel. And so I thought, oh, okay. And then my talk was accepted, which was like very fortunate because it's very competitive for talks.
Yeah.
And then I stood up and gave a talk, and in the audience was Carlton Gibson, who gave me feedback. It was on APIs, and he was a maintainer of Django REST Framework, and he gave me some feedback. And I met Jeff Triplett, and I met Frank Wiles, and I met all these, I'm sure I met Jacob or Simon. And just everyone I was like, wow. But I remember that first time at night, I didn't have anyone to go to dinner with. I didn't know anyone, It was like, I was like, ugh. But from that came friendships, came the podcast, came the newsletter, came the inspiration to do more books, So I think it's that, we're fighting with computers, but it's all about people, and the community is so welcoming. And I've been to other tech conferences, and they're not like DjangoCons.
Yeah.
How could they be?
They can't compete with.
Yeah. So there's ways to come. So the videos are online. I try to watch all the videos. They're so underwatched. It's such a graduate school in Django.
Yeah.
There's scholarships and ways people can try to come. A lot of what I do with the podcast is try to mimic the people and the vibe here and make it accessible, because I didn't know what a hallway track was.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, hallway track. I was like,
what does that mean?
What is that? Because I sat to every single talk. I had a notebook and I took notes because I was So find a way to come, find a way to get involved, and people will try to help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Will.
Yeah. Thanks, Velda.
And that was Will and Velda. My name is Velda Chiara. I am a Django Events Foundation of America board member, and I like to thank Will for coming on to our sort of like interview and chat.
Yeah, thank you. It's a
And
pleasure.
come to DjangoCon next year, or even watch the videos, or maybe get an online ticket. Everything works as long as you're part of the community. Thank you.